He is a University of Miami grad, the U, and he has become a multitasking, multi-talented force in the entertainment industry, a mover and shaker in Hollywood, helping with movies, TV, podcasts through the very successful 7 Bucks Productions. That's family. Dany Garcia, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and yes, Hiram Garcia. Hiram is a producing partner, a collaborator, and an exceptional photographer. That's why we're here. His fascinating photos are featured in the new St. Martin's Press released photo book, The Rock, Through the Lens, His Life, His Movies, His World. This is Hiram Garcia. Thank you, Hiram. So Hiram, first off, we'll get to the book. What made you decide, hey, University of Miami, that's for me?
First off, I love your energy, man. This is what I need to get me going. When I hear that fired up juice, man, I love it. That's definitely Miami style. When you got that kind of energy, buddy. Look, for the U, I'll tell you, I grew up with the U. So both my sisters went to the U. So ever since I was in 5th grade, my eldest sister Marla was already going to the U, and that was in the heyday of Miami. Like Miami was really just a force of nature, especially in football. So I remember, starting from 85 on, we were just obsessed with Miami as a family. And here you have a family, both my parents are immigrants from Cuba. And so they were never huge football fans. It just was never passed on to them. And our entry into football was the U. So our love of that team and everything about it really just got us behind it. And I remember right up the street from us, when I lived in New Jersey, 2 families up was a Notre Dame family. And they used to always have their Notre Dame flag outside. We'd always have the Hurricane flag. And luckily for us, we always got the best Notre Dame, as you know, my friend. So that's where it started. And to be honest, ever since then, my trajectory, I couldn't imagine going anywhere else other than the U. And I knew that from 5th grade on.
That's right. Beat the Irish. But Hiram, no Scarlet Knights for you?
No, my friend, not a chance. Not a chance. It was always going to be orange and green. And it lucked out as I was kind of coming up. I was always, always leaning towards creativity. And University of Miami had one of the all-time great music programs in the country. So I just naturally started to see that path if I was going to do music at University of Miami. And the rest was history, my friend. I couldn't go anywhere else. I literally applied to no other school other than I did like Miami and then a couple of just backup ones that I never intended to go to because it was either Miami or bust for me.
Yeah, well, South Florida, entertainment industry, music industry, so robust.
100%. And look, when you grow up in Jersey, as much as I love Jersey, you're dealing with the winter and the snow and the gray. I mean, I was ready for the sun and getting closer to that Latin vibe that we weren't experiencing as much in Jersey.
Hey, Hiram, what years were you at the U, and did you take any photography classes while you were there?
I didn't. So I was at the U between 94 to 98, and I never took any photography classes. I'd always had a passion for it, hidden away, but especially at that young of an age, and that's before, it was digital or anything like that. I had never taken any classes. It was just something I loved from afar, and I always appreciated good photography. But my focus really when I was at the U was music business and entertainment, which was my major. So, I was playing in tons of bands. I was in the South band there, and the marching band, and the orchestra, and then along with my business classes.
Oh, what instruments can you play?
So I was a trumpet player. I was a trumpet player, principal instrument over there, and that was it. Limited to trumpet and some very bad piano playing of songs I learned at a very young age.
Dizzy Gillespie?
Oh, I love Dizzy. I mean, look, all the Dizzy, Arturo, Maynard Ferguson, Clifford Brown, Miles Davis, you name it. I love those guys.
So where did you get your inspiration then for photography? Because I'm looking at the book, and these photos are incredible.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And, I've just always appreciated good photography. And I think I've always found myself, if I be in someone's house, especially a black and white image, there's just always something timeless and beautiful about a black and white image. It doesn't matter when it was taken, but it always grabs your attention and tells you a story. And I've always wanted to eventually exercise that muscle. And as we started to get into the film business, my ultimate dream of wanting to be a film producer, I really started to find these opportunities where we were experiencing these great projects, we were going on these amazing journeys, and wanting to just document some of them because the moments were so fleeting and they would pass by so fast. And having something that not only could I share with DJ, but also share with my friends and family who I'd be away from for months at a time while doing these projects. And that inspiration to capture those images started to feed into my love of photography, and then I just started to try and teach myself more and more, watching YouTube videos. I'd pick the brains of the set photographers we would hire on our movies or any specialty photographers we would use, and mix and match. You start to put together a little bit of a skill to behind the lens and try and do what you can to take some great photos.
Did you have you must have an assortment, an array of photos. You probably could have done a ton of books. How difficult of a process was it, to just select which ones to use for the book? And did Dwayne have any input in what photos to be used as well?
Oh, 100%. The big man always has a say. He always has a say. And, the truth is, behind a lot of the photos, especially the more intimate ones, those were images that I took specially just for Dwayne. I just wanted to give him a moment to remember, a snapshot of something we were going through, and as the great guy as he is, he was so generous and open and offered and allowed me to use some of those more intimate photos in the book. And that's just the kind of guy he is. But we did go off of a lot of images. I think initially the batch was like 400 to 500 images. I worked very closely with my editor at St. Martin's to start shedding some away and trying to create a narrative that we could tell on there, and also trying, have a nice mixture of never before seen photos with some that were more popular. But the combination of me, my editor, and then always checking in with DJ, making sure he liked everything, because ultimately I wanted to really honor him with a book. So once I got his sign off, I was feeling good, and we were able to move forward with all the photos.
There are so many incredible photos in this book, and it's so cool. The Rock, his life, his movies, his world, through the lens. And Hiram, I noticed one where he's with Simone in the ring, his daughter Simone, and she's now training at the WWE Performance Center in Orlando. Just how cool is that? And just some of the family photos like that you took.
I'm so proud of her, and look, always from a very young age, she's always just loved wrestling. From being a little girl, I always remember her watching wrestling and loving the divas, and anytime we would go do something back to WWE, the divas would always come around her and instantly bond with her. So I always knew there was a passion for her, and that was a very early phase where DJ was coming back to the WWE after a hiatus, and we were setting up rings depending on where we were shooting, so he could get some training time in to kind of work back through, get back into ring shape. And I remember that being one of the days where Simone came, and he was just giving her a little lesson in there. I believe that's the shot where he's showing her how to kind of deliver a very, dramatic headbutt, that really played to the audience. And it was just a cool moment to be able to capture. But to have little glimpses like that foreshadow where she was going to be now that she's got a contract with him and she's training over there, it's so special and cool. And look, a lot of those family images were just my desire to capture these moments, because the one thing I was always very aware of in terms of how we'd be flying in from work and then having to leave again is that all these moments pass so quick. So anything that I could do to hold on to a memory, hold on to a moment, really inspired me and was the motivation to capture a lot of this stuff, so we had something to look back on years down the road.
Did you have any special photographic equipment?
Well, I'm an ambassador for the legendary, camera company Leica, so they've done a really good job of supplying me with the tools I need to be able to shoot in all kinds of situations. But, I pride myself in always I don't say just necessarily natural light, but I shoot with the light that's there. So whether that's on set, and if the set's lit, great, I use it. If I'm outside, I just use natural light, but I never do any kind of light enhancement. I don't have any flashes, or I don't ever set up strobes or anything like that. I really just like capturing the moment of what it is, and whatever light there is that I have, I'm going to work with it. So that allows me to keep a small kit, and I tend to, now I'll travel around and for fun, I'll have some different cameras with me. But when I really started to get passionate into photography, the thing that allowed me to start getting the shot was I said, I'm just going to keep one body with me and one prime lens. That's it, and I'm just going to have that and work with that, and that's what really propelled me forward to start getting back into photography. And once I did that, then the appetite really grew.
Well, when did you really get serious with photography? I mean, were you taking photos even when you were younger just for fun as a hobby? When did it start to, was it after you started your career that it became something part of the routine?
Yes, absolutely. So I did, there were periods there, I'd say early 2000s, that, I remember I was scrounging up to buy a camera, and I would try and take some of those pictures. Those are some of the family pictures you see of like DJ with, my nieces and nephews and so forth. But it wasn't until, I finally really got into my career, and it was around Baywatch. Baywatch was the film that, I had been dreading carrying around my big camera setups that I had. It was too hard to travel with and fly with. I didn't want them to get damaged. So I said, you know what? Technology had evolved to the point where mirrorless cameras were so good and small that I said, I'm going to just get one body, one prime lens, and I'm going to use this to make sure I always get a shot, but I at least always have a high-quality camera with me. And the images I was able to take during Baywatch were receiving such good responses that we ended up using my photography for the digital campaign, and we really used that to help kind of drive the narrative for that movie. So, and from there was the beginning of a run of, we did 3 movies back to back to back. So it was Baywatch, and then Fast and Furious 8, and then Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. And in that 3 run of movies, my photography really exploded, just in terms of like trying to get better, a hunger for it, and also how I was using those photos, not just document memories now, but to also use them with a little bit more of a purpose for kind of steering the narrative and breaking looks of our movies and first looks and so forth.
There's so many cool photos, and there's one I picked out too with WWE superstar Roman Reigns from the Hobbs and Shaw movie that you are all on location. I believe this was in Hawaii, correct?
Yes, that's in Kauai, and it was such a cool moment. That Hobbs, the character of Hobbs has always been something really special to DJ and I, because when I had been doing production assisting and doing all the stuff, and when I circled back around to Hollywood, me and DJ started working together again, and we created that character with the writer Chris Morgan, and it's one of our most beloved characters. And over the years, to watch him grow, so when we finally got this opportunity to do the spinoff we always had dreamed of doing for Hobbs, we were excited to showcase Hobbs' many sides that people hadn't seen, but also be able to showcase his Polynesian culture, obviously inspired by DJ's real life Polynesian culture. And so to start pulling in all of these brothers and cousins and other Polynesian actors as we built out his family, and to be able to pull Roman in, we were so fortunate because he had just had a bout with leukemia, that he kind of punched leukemia in the face. He was coming back to it, and we were so fortunate that he was able to join us on set. He was still doing some crazy action scenes fresh off of battling it, and it was just a really special moment that we were able to have him be a part of it. The studio loved the minute. I mean, as you can imagine, Joe is an amazing guy who looks great on camera, and they're like, whatever it is, we need more of him for sure. So I really love that moment we captured, and the two of them just kind of laughing, sitting over one of those tops in Kauai. The scenery was beautiful, and it'll always be a very special memory for us.
And not only are there just elaborate, illustrious color photos, you also use black and white. And there's one of Dwayne sitting there. He was at a press day event, just looking at his phone, not posing for the camera, just in thought. Really cool. Do you have any favorite photos of the book?
There's a couple favorite photos, but I will say I do love black and white. Like black and white is always my preference. I tend to lean towards black and white. There's just something timeless about it. I know for myself, if I ever choose to hang photography on the wall, I always tend to like black and white. I think there's just a timeless, classic feel to it. But in the book, I'd probably say a couple of my favorites would be, one is I always really loved, there's a shot I took of DJ and Alex Dario from Baywatch. It was one of the first photos I ever took that really, had an amazing response that made me start to realize there was something else I could do with photography. And, I always liked that I was able to, the inspiration behind that photo, the pose is from, if you're ever familiar with, there's a comic book artist named Alex Ross who draws his characters in these really cool ways where their chins are up, but they're looking down a little bit towards the lens. And I was able to achieve that in that shot. So I always liked that one. And I also really like the image I have of Dwayne with Stan Lee. That was always a very special moment that, I was happy I was able to capture before Stan had passed. And it was them coming full circle. When DJ first came into the business, Stan Lee was one of the guys who really greeted DJ with open arms and, always told DJ he believed in him and he felt that he really had something special to offer to this business. And so that image was actually taken several years after they had seen each other, and DJ was now, obviously the biggest movie star in the world, and, we had announced that we were getting into the superhero space, with him doing Black Adam, and it was just a nice moment of, watching DJ be humbled as Stan Lee just really heaps praise on him and how proud he is of everything he's done. And so that moment, being able to capture that, and for me to be able to meet Stan Lee for the first time, that'll always be a really special image to me.
Hiram, you've done so much. How long have you known Dwayne, and how long you've been working with Dwayne?
Gee, so I've known Dwayne, I think, since I was 15. And so, obviously I've known him for years and years. We're old men now, but I've known him for years, and I've always helped him creatively. So even when he was, doing stuff at WWE, I was always helping him with dialogue for The Rock, and we were coming up with crazy catchphrases and slogans, or, helping him come up with finishes for matches. And then it was around, maybe like 2000, I want to think, maybe 2000, 2001. I initially was, a music business and entertainment major, and my plan was to be in the music business. But after being in the music business, it just didn't resonate with me. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would, and I was in between. And when Dwayne got the Scorpion King, he asked me, he's like, hey, this is going to be my first time doing anything like this. You want to come check it out, help me out, and assist me, and we could both learn together. And it was then when I got on Scorpion King that I realized it was just a click. Right away, I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to be a producer. And I don't know how I'm going to do it. I'm going to redirect my whole life. I got to adjust everything because I had no idea about the film business, but all I know is this is the dream I'm going to chase after. And I did kind of put my head down and went through the storm and the challenges of what it takes to climb the ranks, but, was able to achieve it. And I cut my teeth in Miami doing commercials for several years, and music videos and so forth. And here we are now, very fortunate to be doing what I'm doing.
How long have you lived in South Florida?
I've lived in South Florida probably, I started living here in 94, 95, and then after I graduated college in 98, I was full-time and never really went back to Jersey.
And did you ever have any interest when you were working with Dwayne and Brian, too? Brian, I'll say his name wrong, but it's with it. I know it's a good, say it.
Brian Gawert.
Good words. Thank you so much. And working with Brian, who's just a phenomenal mind and all. But Hiram, did you ever get in the ring? Did you ever even practice in the ring? Did you ever have any interest in getting in the ring?
For 1 second, because I'm a big guy, you think about it, but then you're like, man, I'm not built for this. It's like, my knee's beat up as is from playing basketball. I've had 2 ACL surgeries on my knee. I'm like, I'm smart enough to realize I'm going to save that for the guys that are in much better shape, with much better physiques, and I will just enjoy my time behind the ring, behind the lens, just kind of coming up with ideas that the real stars can implement in front of the world.
Yeah, not even an advocate or a manager or an agent on screen.
I used to always joke with DJ. I'd always say, hey man, I'm always ready for the hot tag. Just if you ever get in trouble, just give me the signal. I'll come and make the save.
That's awesome. Hey, a couple more questions. We'll wrap this up. Thank you so much for your time, Hiram. I really appreciate this. It's been so fun. I'm wondering, Hiram, too, following the lines of acting, have you done any acting? Were you an extra in any of Dwayne's movies or movies you worked with him on, or done anything like that in front of the camera? I know you're so influential behind the camera.
It's funny, I never have. I've always really just been happy staying behind the camera. And, sometimes we joke. I used to say I'd let them die in each one of our movies. We tend to make big movies with a lot of destruction that tend to happen. So I said, I should just for fun, I should just cameo and die in each one of the movies. But you end up getting so busy. You're just so busy on set when you're producing these movies that it's very hard to take the time away to leave that and then go jump in front of the camera. So I like leaving it for the professionals. Maybe one day, maybe who knows, maybe in Black Adam, maybe because it's a superhero movie, and it's always been my dream to do some kind of big superhero movie. Maybe I'll have Black Adam throw me off a building or something like that. But till then, I'm just going to stay behind the camera.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. It would go viral. All right, we're wrapping this up for you, Hiram, and all. And I have to ask you about Danny because we all know Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, an incredible, and his family is incredible, and just everybody involved. It's just so great to see somebody with success and being so humble. And it translates itself to the tree, the family tree and all. And same thing could be said about you and your family with Danny and Marlo and your tree. But Danny is just so business savvy and she was an athlete too, if I'm not mistaken. She was in rowing when she was at the U. And just what was it like growing up with Danny and just seeing her evolve as well?
You know, I've always been so proud of my sisters. You know, my two older sisters, and they've been role models to me, and you know, best of friends, and so close with them, and both of them, everything they've always done, they've been amazing at it. And you know, and look, Danny is, you know, I had the privilege of working with Danny, love her so much, and I'm just so incredibly proud of the titan and the assassin she is, because you said it, like she has always, anything she's ever put her mind to, she's done it incredibly well. You know, she went into college, she was always an athlete, she decided to try out, you know, rowing, and, you know, she was instantly a varsity athlete in rowing. Now she's she's an IFBB pro bodybuilder. She took that up in her 40s. She's like, you know what, I'm just going to give this a try, and she became a pro so fast. And then obviously what she does in business, in guiding our company and working with DJ, and obviously, you know, with all the other celebrities and actors that she guides and manages their careers. She's the first female owner of a professional league, a sport league, you know, in the country. I mean, it's just, her accolades continue to go. And, you know, when you have someone like that running your company and someone like her and DJ to look up to, it can only help you better yourself. You know, from them both, I've learned how to improve my work ethic and give me a drive like there is no tomorrow. We all work like there is no tomorrow. We all work like there may not be one. So that kind of influence just inherently trickles down throughout the entire company, and it's what makes Seven Bucks such a great company to be a part of, to work for, and creates a great work environment because they're always pushing boundaries, and they have the biggest and hungriest of goals, but behind it all is benevolence. You know, that's the key, is there's always just a hunger for kindness, and whatever they do, no matter how big they do it, you know, they're going to do it in a kind way, and you know, we always love the mantra that we carry with us, that is, you know, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice, and that's something that we'll always do and we'll always keep with us in everything that we do.
And that's real, and that's true, and I know that firsthand, and it's just so great, and philanthropy work they all do is great. And mention Marlo also, because we don't hear much about Marlo because she's not with Seven Buck Productions and not the XFL. Danny's going to be running the XFL. Hiram, as we close out here, are you going to be involved in the XFL? Could Marlo be involved in any of the projects? And how about George Perez, former star quarterback at Cooper City High School?
Yeah, well, you know, look, you know, Marlo's a machine too, and she works hard with on one of our charity arms, you know, and that keeps her busy, where she's overseeing a bunch of these amazing kids that she's always shepherded and guided. And, you know, in terms of the XFL, you never know. We all, you know, everything that Danny works on, you know, me and her, our paths always cross. And obviously with the XFL, there's tons of content we're creating around it. So been very involved in that process. And we'll always kind of be helping each other on each side of what there is. But we're so excited with the XFL, what's going to come with it. And I think, especially the ambitions we have for it, and as we grow it out, I think fans are really going to be excited how the league's going to evolve and grow, and the plans we have behind it in terms of the content that's going to be supporting it. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're thrilled with it, man. So excited.
I'm excited. I'm excited hearing you talk about it. It's going to be great. All right, Hiram, let's get you out of here because you've been so good with your time. I so appreciate that. I'm going to say it again. Through the Lens, The Rock. His life, his movies, his world, photo book by photographer Hiram Garcia. Wait, he's not only a photographer, he's a producer, he's a collaborator, he's a shaker and mover. He's going to be part of the XFL, running that thing, getting that thing going where it needs to go. The XFL, yes. Hiram, thank you so much for the time. I want to leave you. Do you have anything else you'd want to say about the book? The book is now going to be available. You can get it where books are sold, online, just anything else, too, that you want to add about the book.
No, you know what? Just thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. This has been a blast. I hope we get to do it again. Love your energy. And look, I hope fans really love the book. And I think through all these crazy images and the adventures you'll see in the book, I hopefully what they come away with is they just realize that ultimately DJ's just a great guy, and he's one of us. And I think that's one of his most endearing qualities, that despite being the biggest movie star in the world, he's still just another, he's just one of us that you can go and grab a beer with and have a good time with.
Hiram, will we see another book?
Fingers crossed. If the fans like it, and if they demand it, the fans always get what they want, my friends. You know how it goes. We report to the fans.
Hiram, the 954, the 305, the 561, taking care of it for South Florida. Yes!